Hello, book lovers. Welcome to Must Love Books. Hello, and welcome back to Must Love Books podcast. Today, I am here featuring author Shelly Page for her newest release, Charmed and Dangerous. Hi, Shelly. How are you?
Hey, I'm great. How are you?
I'm awesome, and I'm so excited to have you on. Charmed and Dangerous is such a cute blend of cozy witchery and a little bit of fake dating. This book is adorable, and I love it so much. So I'm really excited to have you here.
Yes, thank you so much for having me, and I'm really excited.
So, for anyone who hasn't heard of Charmed and Dangerous yet, why don't you just dive right in and tell our listeners all about it?
Yeah, absolutely. So, Charmed and Dangerous is a young adult contemporary romantasy, and it is about a teen mystic, and she's working for the Bureau of Mystical Affairs. She's trying to track down the source of a rogue love charm that's spreading through the high schools in her town. And she is also fake dating her boss's daughter. So it is, I would like to say, like a blend of kind of like a cozy mystery and a romance. They're fake dating. There's like a bodyguard romance. They're both lesbians and black lesbians at that. So it is very diverse. It's very fun. I like to think of it as like Agent Cody Banks or like Chasing Liberty, those like very classic teen early 2000s rom-com movies. That is totally the vibe plus magic.
Early 2000s teen rom-coms were like on a whole different level. So I'm
Yeah.
so glad that you brought that up as, sort of a comp to just the general vibe and aesthetic of this story.
Yes, I was thinking of them when I was writing this book because I knew I wanted to have that sort of like fun and like whimsical vibe to it. So, yeah, and I love them. I watched several while I was writing this book.
And Agent Cody Banks, that is one that I have not seen in such a long time.
It's been
Like,
a long time,
memory unlocked.
literally.
We're gonna have to like start a resurgence of early
Yes,
2000s teen rom-coms.
please.
Bring them back. So let's talk a little bit about some of your inspirations for your characters and the world building behind Charmed and Dangerous.
Yeah, absolutely. So my characters are always inspired by me. I identify as a Black lesbian. I'm Black and I'm gay, and I want my readers to be able to see themselves in my stories like I didn't get the chance to when I was reading growing up. So it's really important to showcase that identity in my stories. So that's where my characters are coming from. They're coming from me. And in terms of the like magic and the world building, I honestly was thinking of the magic system first when I thought of this book. I wanted magic to be something that wasn't active, like you can actively use, but that was around and in the world. And I was thinking of how that would be controlled and monitored in a society where no one can use it, but it's there. And it kind of like causes mishaps and like goes wonky because it's expiring. I thought that's the central idea of the story. And from there, I sort of built it out like who was controlling the magic, which is the Bureau. And, what kind of weird things would happen if magic was about to expire or if magic got out and no one really knew what it was supposed to do or how to stop it. So that was the inspiration behind the book. And from there, the tropes came about. So we have the fake dating, we have the bodyguard romance, and fake dating is my absolute favorite trope. I think there's so many like 90s rom-com movies with that, like She's All That. There's so many. So I think I knew like that was gonna have to sort of be like the vibe of the story.
Yeah, and it is a vibe that I totally love and appreciate and definitely want to see more of in the cozy romantasy sphere.
Yes, totally. Yes, I want
So,
that as well.
how did you approach writing this magic system as opposed to a recent novel of yours, Brewed with Love, another story that I also really, really loved? That book was so much fun.
Thank you.
Did you find yourself making changes to how you approach writing magic systems between the two stories?
Yes. And I will say they are not sequels, but I thought of them as like sort of in the same world in terms of like in Brewed with Love, the magic is active. So like there is a source of magic in the town and it comes from the forest. And in Charmed and Dangerous, their source of magic was from this lake that had dried up. So I was thinking of ways that magic could be kind of a metaphor for these environmental problems that are going on in our world. And so if magic was dried up, then there would be no new magic. And that's kind of how I was thinking of Charmed and Dangerous in comparison to Brewed with Love, and I knew I wanted them to be very different, but also similar. I approached Charmed in a similar way to Brood, where I started with the magic, and I started with the source of the magic. In Charmed and Dangerous, since there was none to create, I knew that the world would have to be a little bit different. So I worked harder on that magic system in Charmed and Dangerous. I knew like that was going to be kind of a tough thing to work through. So I focused more on that. And honestly, in the first iteration of the story, the first draft, it was like way too mystery focused, way too investigation heavy. I had to bring back in more romance, whereas with Brood of Love, I think I had a little bit of the opposite problem. I was focusing way more on the romance and I needed to up the investigation.
When a writer approaches a novel, it's never going to be the same exact thing every time, even within your own personal writing process and inspirations. You
Right,
never know what to
exactly.
expect.
Yeah, I think I've read somewhere authors say that every book is different and every book requires different things. So it really does. And even if you try to approach your next draft as trying to learn and take whatever mistakes you made in the book that you wrote and try to not make them in the second book, there's just going to be new problems, like something that you've just not thought of, and it's because they're all different.
If it was, simple and easy,
Yeah, absolutely.
half these books wouldn't exist if it was that easy.
Very true.
So, one thing that you mentioned is in writing your novels, you really tap into yourself in creating your characters. And
Yes.
that is because you struggled with finding characters that you could really see yourself in as you were
Yeah.
growing up. And, so that's going to just kind of lead us into our big topic for today's episode of why we need more diversity and intersectionality in romantasy.
We've seen this just boom of romantasy novels in the last few years, and it's not that they haven't existed. They just were like called something else, and that's very common. But I think the majority of them are they're very white, they're very heterosexual, and those are the ones that are making, the bestseller list and that everyone is talking about and that get like, six, seven, eight books. And I think I read romantasy books, so I do love that genre. So I think where we need to have more diversity is in the types of stories that we see in particularly intersectional stories because people aren't monoliths. And I think, especially for young readers, since I do write teen books, they're so impressionable. And it's really important, I think, for readers to see themselves in the stories that they read because it's validating and it allows them to experience different types of stories that they might not live. And I think the more diverse stories we have, not only is it going to attract more readers. I guess it can close gaps, if that makes sense, and let people experience parts of the society that they might not otherwise experience. So I would say that my books are for everyone. So even though I write Black lesbian main characters, anyone can pick up the book and find something in there that they would love and that they can relate to and connect to. And I think that's the beauty of writing.
And the beauty of reading, too, truly, is to be
Yes.
able to step outside of your own box and, experience other perspectives and see how things on different horizons look. Reading is a way to experience new worlds, new perspectives, and kind of broaden your own horizons. And, I say that as I'm a cishet white woman.
Hmm.
I do not just read cishet white books. I read as
Right.
diversely as I can, especially in romance and romantasy and fantasy genres, just because I feel like it just feels more, it's just a place that you can find more joy and
Hmm.
love and
Yeah.
happiness instead of just having, characters from minority backgrounds be rooted in trauma and tragedy.
Yeah,
To just be
absolutely.
able to read, with joy and love.
Hmm. Yeah, and it's not to say that those stories aren't needed, but I agree in that the ability of having just very fun romantic stories is that you can just have your diverse characters experiencing joy and experiencing happiness and love. And I think that's equally important. So, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I wholly support that and wholly agree. And that's not to say that, stories rooted in tragedy are not good representation.
Of course.
Obviously there are so many stories, that are rooted in dark times and sadness that are
Hmm.
still very important stories. And I fully encourage everyone to, read outside of romance genres. But just in romance, it's just nice to be able to have just the happiness revolve
Yeah.
around more than just, the same repeated iterations of the same white, straight relationships over and over again.
Yeah, totally.
And okay, so I did want to say your book,
Oh,
Charmed and Dangerous, takes
hmm.
place in a magical town called Fair Glen, Illinois. And
Yes.
I just thought that was kind of adorable because I live in a small town in Illinois.
You do? That's
Yes,
amazing.
it is not cute and magical like this one is. It's filled with corn, and I would love to just be able to replace the corn with some magical charms.
Yes.
That would be wonderful.
Yeah, I studied in Illinois on purpose. I'm from Chicago and my dad lives in like a suburb outside of the city and I had some friends that lived like further out, like in the corn. It felt very homey and in Brewed with Love, that book is set in California where I live. I wanted Charmed and Dangerous to be set in another place that I used to live that I still have a lot of love for. So Illinois is was the setting, and I'm so pleased that you read it and that you're actually from the parts of the world where I was thinking of when I was writing the book.
There are definitely some nearby suburban towns that I could wholly picture as Fair Glen.
Yeah.
So I think you did a great job of, kind of keeping that small town vibe, but still have it be like magical and fun. And
Yeah.
it was just great. It just like felt like reading about home.
Oh, that's so great.
Just in one of the towns that are not filled with cornfields.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's like a little bit of more of like a mid-sized town because I knew I wanted there to be multiple high schools and like just a little bit more things for them to get into and just shenanigans. But
Yes.
yeah, totally.
Yes, I am the dot of corn that is surrounded by some of those towns that do have the multiple high schools. And
Right.
I think you played it up great. So,
Okay.
congratulations.
Thank you.
I do just want to say that Brewed with Love and Charmed with Dangers were both such cute, fun, cozy reads, and I
Thank
definitely
you.
recommend adding these to your TBR for all of my listeners if you haven't checked them out yet. They're just fun reads and filled with love and joy and, cute, cozy, witchy stuff.
Yes, yes. Please add them. Please read them. Very fun. Happy endings and a little spot of joy in these dark times, honestly.
Yes, absolutely. Especially like I'm honestly so sick of hearing the words breaking news at this point.
Yeah. Yeah.
Every day there's something new, and I'm just like, I think everyone needs to take a day off, please.
Yeah, please. Let's just have a reading day. That would be great.
Yes, worldwide reading day. I think that could do a lot of people a lot of good.
Totally. Yes.
Well, Shelly, I want to thank you so much for joining me today on Must Love Books podcast. Huge congratulations on the release of Charmed and Dangerous. And to all of our listeners, please, please go check out this novel. It is so cozy and cute and such a fun read. You will not regret it.
Yay. Thank you so much.
So, Shelly, do you have any final words that you would like to leave our listeners with?
Yes, I would say please pick up Charmed and Dangerous. It is just a fun time, and I think it would be the perfect spring read. I hope you guys enjoy it.
Thank you again for joining me on the podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. This has been Must Love Books. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and Patreon under @Must Love Books Podcast. Thank you and happy reading.